Okay, so I finally get to do it. My first full in-depth review of a PlayStation 4 title. Now, in the previous episode, I took a look at the console and a quick top-line view of some of the games that are available on launch day, but nothing really detailed, nothing specific. So I'm very excited about this. And what better place to start than to focus on one of the PlayStation 4 exclusives. It's not available on the Xbox One, it's not available on the PlayStation 3 for that matter. I'm talking about the latest iteration of Killzone, Shadowfall.
We like to think it's paradise where we live. It's amazing what you do to protect that.
Now, what are the differences and what similarities can we see in other games in Killzone Shadowfall? Now, they seem to have ditched the slugginess. I've touched on that briefly just before, but it's much more snappier. It seems a lot quicker. The movements, the gameplay, and I'm really a big fan of that aspect. In reality, they seem to have just borrowed elements of Call of Duty and Halo and thrown it into the mix here, which obviously I can only say is a pretty awesome thing in my honest opinion. I mean, it is fun to play. Now, as for the actual gameplay itself, you'll spend, I think, about 20 minutes just wishing you can get your gun out and start shooting stuff, because you're basically playing as a kid initially about 10 years in the past before the actual game itself, and you can't really do much. You'll watch someone die, you go through a little bit of training, and then finally you can have some fun with the game, and that's when it really comes alive. Now, this, for me, is part of the game which you'll see not just at the beginning, but also throughout the course of the entire campaign itself. It's punctuated by these long extended sequences where you can't really do much. I find that a little bit of a letdown. It really isn't that engaging. Now, outside of those elements though, it really is, simply put, awesome when you're running around and shooting. As for the actual game itself, it's about 40 years after Killzone 3, the massive happenings in that. If you haven't played it, well, basically everything gets destroyed. Now it's more of a Cold War. Literally, the two enemies are separated by a big wall, and it's nice to see the Hellgas back into action, I have to say. So, as opposed to before where it was a lot of big set pieces, now you're faced with quieter pieces interspersed with big set pieces we've come to see from the Killzone franchise, which have no sign of letting up. They are still utterly fantastic to play, but it's nice to have different elements there. Now, there are other parts of the game where they do try things differently. Suddenly you have no gravity, suddenly you're going through these stealth missions, and to be honest, those don't work particularly well. It's never really been seen in the Shadowfall Killzone, or Killzone game rather, until Shadowfall, and it's just not there. The mechanics aren't there, it's not fun, and you will just simply get annoyed by it. However, the saving grace once again comes with the actual combat, which is the fun part of the game. So I've talked a little bit about the campaign, which is very modeled, by the way. Yes, it's 40 years into the future from Killzone 3, but I don't know what was happening half the time, to be honest. But it's fun nonetheless. I have to throw in another thing though. There's something called Owl, which is in this game now. It's pretty nifty. It's basically a robotic friend, which has multiple purposes. You can set it up effectively as a gun turret, if you're, say, somewhere else. You can use it to give you adrenaline. That's another way of saying heal you, so you can come back, basically, when you're very low on life, or even when you've actually died, and come down, revive you, and you can kickstart again from there. So it's quite a nifty little twist, and I've rather enjoyed using it because of the multiple purposes that you can use it for. Haven't even touched on the other aspects, like it can hack devices for you, it can stop enemy squadrons from attacking you, calling in reinforcements basically. What about having the multiplayer though? I mean, this is really cool. Now, the developers have said they're going to release free maps continuously for online play, and it's a lot of fun. Now, there's something called Warzone as well, where you can basically tweak everything you want about the simulation you're going into, access other people's ones as well, and that makes it really fun. You're basically the creator as one way of looking at it. And of course, there's other levels which you will come across in the campaign, about 10 or so, which you can then jump into for the multiplayer element as well. There's a lot of fun, and they really do stick to their word about continuing to develop and release for free maps, etc., then obviously the online community will just grow stronger and stronger as time goes by. And it's a good alternative to the likes of, well, Call of Duty or Battlefield in terms of what you can do. So fun to be had even when the campaign is done, which I think should last you about 10 hours. That's how long it lasted me.
Your beliefs have failed. They have led you into the wilderness.
So what do I think about this game in closing? Well, plenty of things to like about it. I mean, the gameplay is fun. It challenges you to think about how you're going to approach each fight in a different way. There are cons there. They've tried to introduce new elements which just didn't click into gear. But most of it, I would say, is pretty awesome. Having the owl as your friend, your robotic friend, is really, really a nice way of reinvigorating the series. It's no longer so dark and very linear, very industrial. It's now a lot more vibrant. I mean, I haven't really focused too much on the graphics, but I'll just tell you this much. It really is stunning. You'll be looking and seeing the sun and the lighting effects, and it really, really tells you that this is a next generation game. So I had a lot of fun just looking at the game. It makes up for some of the elements missing in the actual gameplay. As for the campaign, well, it lasts like 10 hours, like I said, but the longevity carries on in the multiplayer, which is a lot of fun. And rather than being progression-based like before, like you have to unlock the weapons as you get further and further, almost everything is readily available there for you. It's more about applying your skill rather than progressing and unlocking stuff, because if you have the weapons, it's just a question of completing the challenges which are set out for you. And I have to say, it's a nice little paradigm shift there as well. So obviously a lot of thought has gone into this game, and it's a very solid title launch, a AAA title launch for the PlayStation 4. Obviously, I still think it could be a lot better. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but it really bodes well for what the future could hold in terms of Killzone, as long as they continue to refine and reinvigorate the series. But in the meantime, it's definitely worth checking out if you've got yourself a PlayStation 4. It's only available on that console. I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10.
If you attack, she will not back down. She'd be defending her people, their home. This is all we have.
This is our home, and it always will be. I want you to remember.